So in this garden you can see that it's not very interesting. There's a large area of slate, there's some random stones, and there's not a lot of interest. There's no focal point at the back. So let's take a look at the design and see what we did to make it more interesting, and then we'll have a look at how we built it. So having spoken to the customers, we decided to create a circular paved area in the middle with a circular seat around it, and that's looking onto a water feature. It started off initially as a boulder, and then we used a globe. We arranged the rockery stones so that it got more structure and looked more like a rockery, then added lots of interesting plants to provide a focal point and all year round colour. So in this garden we used some lovely Indian sandstone sets provided by CED, which are based on North Street in Langley Mill, Derbyshire. And the paving came from a circular kit provided by the Natural Paving Store, which you can see online. The globe, the water feature, we obtained that from primrose.co.uk. Again, I'll put all the details below just in case you want to get some similar elements for the garden. The stone to build the walls was also from CED, North Street, Langley Mill. It comes in random sizes. The planting came from Coles at Thurnby in Leicestershire, and also from Hudson Nursery, which was quite close, just in Hazelwood in Derbyshire. So what we've done today is to put a concrete footing in. We laid the circular kit out dry first to make sure we're in the right locations, because we're going to build a seat into the sort of that comes out of the circular paving. So that's what we're doing there, and so that's all set for tomorrow. I've got the concrete in, 4-inch thick of concrete there just for a low wall, and then we've got the footing there ready for the foundation tomorrow. Well, good afternoon. We're just making as you can see, a circular patio. This is one of those kits. It's a natural stone sort of autumn brown sort of colour. This particular one, you get some nice pinks and silvers and different things like that. And obviously what you've got to do, you've got to have a line down to make sure that you're going to run into your paved areas around. We've got a limestone base. What we're doing here is, as you can see, laying a circular patio, but I'm stopping here. We're going to build a wall out of Indian sandstone, and we're going to come round to here, and so this will be a seating area, and then the slabs will come up here, so they'll be at about 45 centimetres up, so you're going to sit on that portion. So that's what we're doing. So just a couple of little things when you're laying these. Obviously we're using a slurry to slurry the back of them. When you lay these in a circle, just run the trowel across like that and around. It's just, the reason being, if the mortar comes up between the joint, when you come to put your easy joint or whatever you do, your 24/7, just to joint them, it needs a bit of room for it to go into. If there's only about that much, it won't do it properly, and you'll see the mortar. So I'm just going to do a little check on this one to see if it's the right depth. So I'm just going to put that in dry, and you can see there, looking at that, looking at this one, I'm just going to ease that one across a fraction possibly. So looking at that, that's about 4 or 5 mil higher there, not far off at the back, so it's a little bit high at the front. So all we do is just a very, very light, little bit of light scraping back like that. Hardly anything really. You've got to do a full bed when you're using these thin slabs or porcelain or things like that. You've got to do a thin bed, so just pull that back a little bit. So I don't want to be knocking them down about 2 mil, or that will be absolutely fine. So I'll do that, pop it into place like that. We'll slurry up the back. This is a mixture of one SBR, then one of that, one of cement. There's a tiny bit of water in this one actually. Don't go right to the edges, and then we'll pop that in position. So what I'll do is we'll just take that under the line, pop it into position there. I've actually got to ease these over a bit. You can see that the gap's opening up a bit there, so I've got to kind of ease them round. When you're laying slabs with these kits, what you've got to do is you've got to get them all down fairly quickly if you can, obviously accurately. So any adjustments you can do at the time, what you don't want is to do half of it and not do the other half, and then you can't adjust it. See, like now I can kind of ease that across. I can either use something like a trowel and just sort of ease it. Actually getting quite hard, that is. I might have to use a spade. One way you're going to have to. That's it, it's gone. Just needs a little tap on that corner. Just to, sometimes you have to blend in a little bit, you know, with these. This has got to go back a little bit there. And then what you've got to do is either with a big spirit level, or you can use a piece of wood if you want to. You can kind of put that, make sure it's sitting nice and flat across your surfaces. I can obviously go have got some drainage over to the left. There's a slight fall that way, but that's sitting nice and flat, so that's okay. And then we'll get round to there, and then I'm going to build up the seat, and then that will go up, and it'll look like part of the circle, only a bit higher. Okay, beautiful sunny day today, so we're going to crack on for a bit longer. So there we go, we got the circle in, we've got some stones down, just need to point up a little bit better. The stones don't absorb any water, so the mortar's taking a bit of time to go off, so pointing is a bit tricky today. I have to wait for that to go off properly. Well, good morning. Bit of an overcast day today, but the good thing is the temperature is still sort of well above 4 degrees Celsius, so it's okay to build. Just mean that your pointing is going to be a bit tricky because the mortar doesn't go off as quick. So we're using something like a 4-to-1 just so that it'll go off quite quickly. So what we've been doing is building up here. Just put the bag down to collect any little bits, just so you can see it. I'll pull the bag away a little bit, and you can kind of see we've got this radial kind of circle coming up. So what you've got to do is obviously you've got to make sure you plumb up. You can sometimes have a trammel in the middle. We'll just show you what a trammel looks like on a different video. But really you want to be coming up off this this concentric ring, because what we're doing is obviously laying this, the slabs will carry on for the seat across here. Something I've done before, I've done it with dry stone wall. You can see on the video there, just up here, the dry stone wall one that we did for a Baptist church. I've done various circular ones for different settings. But with this one we're using Indian sandstone, these little sets. And so what we'll do, ideally you want the mortar a little bit closer, but we've just been laying quite a few, so this is just a 4-to-1. We'll just offer that up, and then we can either tap it down. You can either tap it down with that, or if you want to, you can have a different tool, something like a long panel, just to tap them into place. We'll check that all up in a minute, and while I'm here I'm going to lay a couple more just so and then we'll come around and we'll get them all set up properly. So again, we'll just get a second one in there. That one's going to be a little bit lower, so I'm just going to pop a little bit more mortar in there. It's a little bit of a, they are different sizes, these. Yeah, so they are different sizes, the sets, so you do have to be a bit careful. I'll just trim that off there. What we'll do obviously is check the level across the top, see what that's like. So we're just rising a touch, which is pretty much would have anticipated that. Tap that down until we're all nice and level. So we're level across the top there on the spirit level. And then of course we're just going to have a little look on the front here, off that back end, just to make sure that we're plumb. Yeah, we're nice and plumb there, so that's good. And you can actually look down it as well to make sure that it's coming up off there. So when these slabs go on top and they nose over, I'll just show you that. So when these are in place and they kind of nose over the edge, I'll just drop a couple of blocks in the back here just to show you this. So they're going to nose over like that, and it's just like as if you've carried on the ring, but it's going to be your seat. And then at the back here we'll have another inner brick here. We're going to put a foundation in the back here, and then there'll be 2 bricks coming up for the back, and then we'll finish that with a bit of a coping on the top. And so that's really what we're doing today. So just to finish this little piece off here, just so you can see it, what I'm going to do now is, normally I'd bed the end ones anyway, put that one in. And again, what we've got to do, obviously with it being an end one, you want to make sure that you're nice and plumb on the end there. Take that up to there, nice and plumb. Make sure it's plumb, you know, coming up on the inside nicely. The difficulty is these do have a bit of an angle on them and all sorts of things. So we've got to come across there. You can see I'm going to need, I just need to alter that a little bit actually. I'm going to have to put a bigger one in there. Yeah, so what we're going to do is I've just cut one down there just to fit in there a little bit better. You get them, and when you're hitting both bricks at the same time, you know you're pretty much at the right height there. So we'll clean up around the front. Drop that in the top, just flick it into the top to fill the top of the joint up. A bit on the back there, we'll flick that in a bit. Flick it in. Okay. What I'll do now, I'm just going to go down a tad more there. Just have a look at the level. What we're going to obviously do is make sure that we have got that we don't sort of get the vertical lines running, and that it's level at the top. So when we put our slab on, we just put a a centimetre of mortar or whatever, and put our slab on the top of here to finish it. So it's nice and level there. We'll just have a look at this. Looks like it's sticking out a little bit on this end, so that's got to just come in a little bit, not too much I don't think, but just enough there to get that nice. That's actually all right at that. So it does go in and out a bit with the stone a tad, and that's that ready to go now. I just got to put the back course in. We'll build up the back of the chair. We're going to put a little bit of a footing in the back here, build up the back of the chair, lay the slabs around the front, and then pop the coping on. Well, it's another overcast day here, and you can see what we've been doing is we're starting to put the rings now around the outside of the Indian sandstone. Just a couple of things. I'm just going to show you a little bit of pointing. So what we've done when we point up, I've got a couple of trowels, I've got a couple of jointing tools which are quite useful. And what we do when you're pointing, remember, cross joints first, do your cross joints, okay, where you possibly can. Let's clean that up a little bit. And then once you've done your cross joints, so we'll do all those cross joints, just get a little bit of mortar, just tap out your trowel, a little bit of mortar on there, and just make sure they're nice and full. All those cross joints all nice and full. A little bit in there. Just trim the sides up a little bit. Put a little bit of plastic down there just to protect it. So do your cross joints, and then once you've done your cross joints, you do your bed joint. I'll just put a little bit in there. A little bit. The problem with these stones is they're all different sizes, so you're not going to get an even bed. Some we have to make quite thick beds because the thin stone, other stones much thicker. So it's quite tricky, and you'll find you get actually quite a lot of mortar coming off. So what we're doing is going to trim a little bit off with the side of the jointer like that. Just trim a little bit off. Okay. And when you've done that, then you can, when you've got rid of the worst of it, if you like, you can then bring your joint around and get a nice sort of finish on it there. And again, if you get too much on the edges, just use the jointer on its side just to trim that up a little bit. But it is difficult when they're going in and out and doing all sorts of things. But what you can do, you can do a final sort of joint if you want to. Just, there's the cross joints. When you're pointing from the outside, pointing this bit, always outside in. so that then you don't knock that joint out. So again, outside in. Okay, trim all that off. I can recycle that. I've got to obviously do all down the bottom as well. And then when you've got your sort of finish out, when you're happy with it, so say now I'm getting there, it's just something you have to do this 2 or 3 times because the amount of mortar that's coming off it, and because it's this time of year, it doesn't go off so quick. It's not as nice as doing it in the summer. Okay, and we'll just trim that back. And then what you do when that's pulled in a bit, you just use a brush and you just go sideways with a brush, just diagonally, like that. It's a little bit early, you can see it's going to stain a little bit if I do that now. So I'm just going to leave that till the very last thing of the day, and then I'll just go over and just brush it diagonally, and then you'll get a decent finish then. And but because it's just caused a little bit of marking, I'm just going to go over again. Just pull that in. So that's one thing. You'll get a decent finish. I've got to do obviously work all the way around that. And then on the blocks, just show me the blocks. What we've got here. What we do. These are these Indian sets, which are really quite good, and you can just lay them in. And you look at the depth. Obviously, that's going to be a bit deeper, so you have to scoop it out a bit. Drop it in. You want to be knocking them in a little bit because I can either use a big level, or I've got a smaller level actually, just here. Come off with a smaller level if you want to. So what we do is we just tap it in, well into the mortar, have a little look at it, make sure that's all nice and straight. Okay, and every now and again what we'll be doing is just checking to make sure it's sitting flat across that way, and we just keep going round, and it's quite a nice job because you're just feeding them in. Again, we just pull back a bit, feed it in a little bit high, feed in a bit more, push that into place, hold it with your left hand in, hit that with the right, take it down. Hopefully you won't be knocking it quite as much as that. Then we'll haunch up the back and we'll just keep working that around. So normally if you've got something not quite as thick, something like that, it's a dead easy job. You just literally a little bit of mortar in there like that, a little bit of 5-to-1 wash sand cement, or you could go 4-to-1 actually. This time of year certainly 4-to-1 is fine, and keeping about an index finger about apart. You could go narrower if you want to, and then that just sets that up. If that one there might be a shade low, you can see that's a little bit low, so if it's a bit low, take it out, drop it in a little bit more, pop that back, and we'll just drop that, not go so heavy this time. And now see it sit down a lot flatter now. Okay, we've got to obviously look to where we're grading in, because that is coming through. We're going to be coming through back to there, so this comes up at an angle, and that, but now we've got to blend the two together, and that should work right. That's just got a slight fall back this way, take the water away. So those are two jobs we've been doing. The other job I've been doing is, because it's a sort of seated area, I've kind of been making a bit of a template. Now the difficulty is these are all different sizes, and so you can see that what I really need, because when you're sitting down you don't want to be sitting against something that's sticking out, so each one of these has got to be kind of bespoke if you want. So you can cut the miters, and the way you can do that, because this is matching that course, you can actually lay a paving slab on the edge. I'll just show you that. In fact, I've done one here, so to save a little bit of time, here's one I did earlier. So what you can do, you can really lay that there, and you can get the angles of your cuts from there. Then if you've got a spare coping, a spare sort of outer circle, you can lay that in. That will give you your inside cut. And then what you do, cut all that down, put it in position. So once you've done all that and you've cut it down to say like this one, this will have been cut. Then you mark underneath it with your pen, and that will give you your cut. The alternative, of course, you might say, well, why don't you just do it all in one go? Which, again, with a good blade, you could cut it all. The advantage of this, you can mark underneath, and so you've got your cut. And if you're cutting there above, you kind of you might cut and hit the block underneath or something like that. It's 6 of one, half a dozen the other. If we were a bit wider, if there was an overhang, probably wouldn't be such a problem. But because we want it to be fairly flush, we're just going for that. Okay. So we're going to get these edges down. We've got the pool in. So pool's been set on a bit of concrete. It's got a sort of 5-to-1 wash sand cement mix packed around it. We've got the gauze with the trapdoor. So all we do, cut a piece of galvanised 2-inch square gauze, cut out a hole so you can get you to the pump to maintain the filter, etc., and set it up. And then we did cut a little piece a bit bigger, and then just get some wire, wrap it round so you've got yourself a little hinge, and then that's going to sit in there. And then what we're going to do is we're going to concrete a ring around that. There's going to be obviously 2 stanchions, 2 metal stanchions. So the stanchions basically obviously will sit underneath. So what will happen is this will have a stanchion going across there, one there, so in case anybody stands on it. Also, when we bore out the ruck, so this is being bored out, so this is going to be bored all the way through. That will be just a stone we found here which we thought would work quite well. Bore that through, and then the pump can come up through the middle and ooze round. And so that's kind of where we are today. So we're just going to get a load more edgings in, and then it's a point up job after that. And then the weather will no doubt probably not let us do anymore, and we'll lose the line. We'll see in a bit.